What if I told you there's a secret hidden in the book of Revelation, a message so powerful that it could change how you see everything? This isn't about predicting the end of the world or decoding strange symbols. No, it's something that's been right in front of us but overlooked for centuries. Have you ever wondered why Revelation, a book that's both terrifying and awe-inspiring, is rarely spoken about in its entirety in church? Or why so many avoid discussing its deeper meaning? In this video, we're diving into this mystery to uncover the truth that could reshape your faith. Stay with me until the end, because each point we're going to discuss is like a piece of a puzzle, and when they come together, it'll make perfect sense. Let's get started. Revelation's language is undoubtedly unique in the Bible, filled with symbols that can feel both cryptic and fascinating. But have you ever wondered why John, the author of Revelation, would choose to communicate this way? Imagine yourself in John's position, a man exiled on the island of Patmos, receiving intense, otherworldly visions. John wasn't simply recording visions, as we might take notes. He was capturing a spiritual experience, one that stretched the boundaries of ordinary language. When he describes seeing a beast with 7 heads or a lamb with 7 eyes, these aren't arbitrary choices. They're symbols, and each one is carefully crafted to convey truths that go beyond words alone. Think about it. Symbols have a unique way of embedding ideas deep within us. They don't just tell us something directly, they make us feel, sense, and wonder. In the ancient world, numbers held special meanings. 3 represented divine completeness, while 7 symbolized perfection. When John uses these numbers, he's not just adding flair, he's encoding meanings that the early readers could grasp immediately, even when we might struggle with them today. The 7 churches, the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, each layer builds on the concept of divine perfection and wholeness, inviting readers to consider God's involvement in human history in its entirety and in every detail. One of the most intriguing aspects of Revelation's symbolic language is how it speaks to people across time, beyond cultural and historical barriers. Symbols are timeless. The image of a dragon, for instance, isn't confined to any one place or people. It universally conjures danger, chaos, and destructive power. By speaking in symbols, John allowed his visions to resonate far beyond his immediate time, reaching us today with the same intensity. It's as though Revelation was designed to speak directly to each generation, urging us to interpret its meaning in light of our own lives and the state of the world around us. And yet, the symbolic language in Revelation also serves another purpose. It veils the message, making it accessible only to those willing to look beyond the surface. In John's time, the early Christians were a persecuted group, facing hostility from the Roman Empire. Openly condemning the empire's power might have led to even harsher consequences, so the use of symbols and coded language was a form of protection. The beast, for instance, with its blasphemous words and oppressive authority, could very well represent Rome or any empire that opposes God's will. John's readers understood this, but the imagery was vague enough to protect them from persecution if the text fell into the wrong hands. The symbols in Revelation also demand something from the reader: engagement. We aren't simply reading a narrative that unfolds itself plainly. We're drawn into a process of interpretation, of seeking meaning and understanding. It's as though the book is calling out to us, asking us to wrestle with its content, to question, and to dig deeper. This makes Revelation a uniquely interactive part of the Bible, one that requires patience, curiosity, and above all, faith. When we pause to reflect on what each symbol might mean, we're opening ourselves to Revelation's truths in a more personal and profound way. The language itself becomes a journey, challenging us to grow spiritually as we work to understand it. Imagine John's descriptions: the 4 horsemen, each with a specific role, color, and mission. These figures don't just represent random events, they embody the forces that have shaped human history: conquest, war, famine, and death. By portraying these events as horsemen, Revelation transforms abstract ideas into vivid, unforgettable characters, forces we can almost see galloping through the pages of history and into our present reality. John's use of symbols like these horsemen isn't meant to confuse, but to convey the sheer power and scope of human struggles, reminding us that our lives are part of a much larger cosmic story. The power of Revelation's language lies not only in its symbols, but also in its visions of extremes: good versus evil, light versus darkness, life versus death. These contrasts are portrayed in a way that feels almost like a dream, where everything is magnified and intensified. When John describes heaven, he doesn't just say it's beautiful. He tells us of gates made of single pearls, streets of pure gold, and a light so bright that no sun is needed. This dreamlike imagery challenges us to imagine a realm beyond anything we can see or know, awakening a longing for a place where ultimate goodness and beauty prevail. On the other hand, when John describes evil, it's horrific and awe-inspiring. A dragon with 7 heads, a bottomless pit, a lake of fire. These aren't just fear-inducing. They're meant to communicate the severity of evil, to remind us of the destructive forces at play in the world and in ourselves. Through these intense symbols, Revelation encourages us not only to hope for a better world, but also to confront the darkness within and around us. It challenges us to recognize the true weight of our choices, our beliefs, and our faith. In this way, Revelation's symbolic language isn't just a stylistic choice. It's a tool that reaches into our hearts and minds, stirring us to examine our own lives. The symbols resonate with anyone who is willing to dive deeper, to question, and to seek the truth within the text. And as we unlock these meanings, we begin to see that Revelation isn't only a vision of the future, it's a mirror held up to the present. We're invited to see ourselves within its pages, to confront our own beasts and Babylons, and to seek out the new Jerusalem within our lives and communities. So as we journey through the symbols of Revelation, let's keep an open heart and mind. Let's allow these ancient images to speak to us in new ways and to show us truths about faith, hope, and resilience that can carry us through our own lives. After all, Revelation's language might seem complex at first, but it's an invitation, a call to engage, to explore, and ultimately to transform. The letters to the 7 churches in the book of Revelation are some of the most intriguing messages in the Bible. They're brief, direct, and packed with meaning. At first glance, these letters seem to address only the churches of John's time, small communities of early Christians living in the Roman Empire. But these letters go beyond ancient history. They speak to every generation of believers, including us today, offering warnings, encouragement, and guidance that remain deeply relevant. Each letter is a snapshot of a different kind of believer, a different kind of faith community, and the specific strengths and challenges they face. But here's the question that has haunted believers for centuries. What if these letters are not just about them, but also about us? Take, for instance, the letter to the church in Ephesus. Ephesus was a bustling city, full of religious diversity and known for its commitment to various gods. In this environment, the Christians there had maintained their faith and zeal, working hard to uphold their beliefs in a society that often stood against them. In Revelation, John praises the Ephesian church for its dedication, for its patience, and for its resilience in the face of false teachings. But then comes the twist. Despite all their efforts, they are accused of losing something essential: their first love. They had the doctrine, the discipline, the dedication, but somewhere along the way, their passion, the genuine love that had driven them in the beginning, had faded. This call to return to their first love isn't just for the Ephesian church. It resonates with anyone who has ever experienced a loss of spiritual fervor. Think about it. How many of us start out on our spiritual journey with enthusiasm and a sense of purpose, only to find that, over time, our faith becomes routine, our passion fades, and our initial love for God grows lukewarm? This letter serves as a wake-up call, reminding us that no amount of work, dedication, or even doctrinal purity can replace the importance of love and passion in our faith. Then there's the letter to the church in Smyrna. Smyrna was a city that prided itself on loyalty to the Roman Empire, and the Christians there faced intense persecution. They were told that their suffering would continue, that trials were coming, and yet they were encouraged to remain faithful, even to the point of death. The letter to Smyrna reminds us that faith isn't always comfortable or easy. It's a commitment that can require us to stand firm, even when the odds are stacked against us. Imagine the courage it would take to remain faithful under such conditions, to know that your beliefs might cost you everything and still choose to hold on. This message is a powerful reminder that faith sometimes demands sacrifice, and that true belief is often tested in the fire of adversity. The letter to the church in Laodicea, however, contains perhaps the most famous rebuke in all of Revelation. Laodicea was a wealthy city, known for its luxury, medical innovations, and sophisticated banking systems. It was a place where people were comfortable, where they had everything they needed, or so they thought. In Revelation, the Laodiceans are described as lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, and this imagery is especially powerful. In those days, Laodicea had a problem with its water supply. Hot and cold water had to be piped in from nearby towns, and by the time it reached the city, it was lukewarm, stale, and unappealing. The Laodicean church is rebuked for being lukewarm, for being complacent, thinking they are rich and have need of nothing. But in truth, they are described as wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. This harsh language challenges believers to examine their own spiritual lives. Are we living a comfortable but shallow faith, satisfied with what we have, or are we willing to push ourselves to be truly hot or cold in our commitment to God? The warning to Laodicea is a sobering reminder that comfort and wealth can often lead to spiritual complacency, dulling our sense of purpose and passion. The letter to the church in Philadelphia, on the other hand, offers a message of hope. The church in Philadelphia was small and lacked power in worldly terms, yet it's praised for its faithfulness and perseverance. This church didn't have the wealth or influence of others, but it was faithful to what it had been given. John's letter promises that an open door has been set before them, a symbol of opportunities and blessings that God would provide. This message encourages anyone who feels small or insignificant in their faith journey. It's a reminder that even when we feel powerless or weak, our faithfulness is seen and valued by God. Sometimes it's not about what we have, but how we use it, how we stay true to our calling despite the odds. Each of these letters presents a unique reflection of faith, each addressing a different way that believers can be tested, challenged, or misled. From the strong and dedicated Ephesus that had lost its love to the comfortable yet complacent Laodicea, these messages form a mirror for the church. They ask us to look at ourselves honestly, to confront the ways we may have fallen short, and to rekindle our commitment to what truly matters. But beyond personal reflection, these letters also serve as warnings for the modern church as a whole. Each letter speaks to issues that aren't just individual, but are also communal, raising questions about how communities of faith maintain or lose their way. Is the church of today, like Ephesus, losing its passion amidst the focus on doctrine and work? Or are we like Laodicea, caught in the comforts of prosperity, unable to see our own spiritual poverty? Revelation's letters to the churches compel us to consider how the spirit of these ancient communities lives on in our own congregations, and how we might learn from their examples. In each letter, we're reminded that God's message isn't simply about rules or rituals, it's about the heart. The 7 churches offer us a roadmap of sorts, showing us the many ways faith can be tested and the various pitfalls that can undermine our relationship with God. They challenge us to remain vigilant, to nurture our faith with love and purpose, and to recognize that every believer and every community will face trials. But through these trials, growth, renewal, and transformation are possible if we remain open to change and willing to examine our hearts honestly. These letters, though ancient, call us to a living faith, one that is not only rooted in devotion, but also constantly aware of the ways it can grow and falter. They speak to a faith that acknowledges weaknesses, but seeks renewal, a faith that refuses to settle for comfort over commitment, and a faith that finds strength in the willingness to change. As we read these letters, we're invited to carry their messages into our own lives and communities, to live with a spirit that is always reaching toward the fullness of faith. And in doing so, we're reminded that these ancient words are as relevant now as they were then, calling us to stay close to our first love, to remain steadfast in the face of trials, and to never let our faith grow lukewarm. The mark of the beast is one of the most mysterious and often misunderstood symbols in the book of Revelation. When most people hear about it, they imagine a physical mark, something branded, tattooed, or implanted, visible for all to see. But what if the real meaning of the mark of the beast is far deeper and more subtle than that? Could it be that this mark isn't something external, but a symbol of a more profound internal choice, a choice that affects our identity, our values, and even the direction of our lives? Revelation presents the mark of the beast in contrast to the seal of God, suggesting a clear division between those who align themselves with God's truth and those who follow the ways of the beast. This isn't simply a question of loyalty, it's a question of identity. What we choose to mark ourselves with, whether it's God's seal or the mark of the beast, reveals where our true allegiance lies. But here's where the subtlety lies. The mark doesn't have to be a visible sign. It can be as simple as the beliefs we hold, the principles we live by, or the priorities we set. The mark could represent the very core of who we are and what we value most. To understand the significance of the mark, we must look at what it means to follow the beast in the first place. Revelation describes the beast as a figure of immense power, a leader who wields authority and demands loyalty. The beast is a symbol of worldly power, deception, and the lure of material wealth and status. In this context, the mark isn't just about agreeing with the beast, but about willingly embracing its values, putting power, self-interest, and earthly success above spiritual integrity and moral principles. Imagine it like a mindset, a worldview that shapes how we make decisions and interact with the world. By embracing the mark, one chooses to align with values that run contrary to the teachings of faith, love, and humility. This perspective challenges us to think about the mark, not as something we'll encounter in the distant future, but as something that's already here, woven into the fabric of our everyday lives. The choices we make, the way we prioritize our time, the influences we allow to shape our values, all of these could be seen as forms of marking ourselves. In today's world, where material success, social status, and self-interest are often glorified, it's easy to fall into patterns that mirror the values represented by the beast. We're constantly faced with subtle, almost invisible pressures to compromise on our beliefs or to put our own interests above others. Consider the concept of marking ourselves through our habits and decisions. Every time we make a choice based on self-centered values, are we not, in a way, aligning ourselves with the principles of the beast? This is where Revelation's symbolism becomes so powerful. It forces us to question the true nature of allegiance. The mark isn't about a single moment of choice, but about the gradual, cumulative impact of the small decisions we make every day. By consistently choosing certain values, we gradually align ourselves with a particular path, either toward God or toward the world's temptations and deceptions. The mark of the beast, then, serves as a warning not just against a future danger, but against the present reality of losing ourselves to the world's influence. We may not see a literal mark, but the evidence of our choices is just as telling. Imagine the ways we subtly compromise. Perhaps it's through pursuing wealth without considering how we're treating others, or prioritizing our own comfort over helping those in need. These decisions might seem insignificant on their own, but over time, they shape who we are and where our allegiance truly lies. In many ways, The mark is a symbol of conformity. Revelation warns against allowing ourselves to be molded by worldly values instead of standing firm in our faith. It's a reminder that choosing the path of God requires constant awareness and effort, a conscious decision to resist the pull of a world that often values wealth, power, and status above love, humility, and compassion. The mark of the beast symbolizes the ease with which we can be swept into the currents of the world's standards, forgetting the deeper spiritual truths we are called to uphold. This understanding of the mark as a choice, subtle, pervasive, and deeply personal, brings Revelation's message right into our everyday lives. It challenges us to examine our actions, our motivations, and the influences we allow to shape our identities. Are we choosing convenience over conviction, self-interest over service? The mark, in this sense, becomes a lens through which we can view our own lives, asking ourselves hard questions about what we truly value. Revelation's depiction of the mark as something on the forehead and right hand also carries symbolic weight. The forehead represents our thoughts, our beliefs, and the way we see the world, while the right hand symbolizes action and the ways we interact with others. By mentioning both, Revelation suggests that the mark isn't just an abstract belief, but something that actively guides our decisions, shaping both how we think and how we act. It's not enough to say we believe in one thing if our actions reveal something else. The true mark is found in the unity between our thoughts and actions, a reflection of what we hold closest to our hearts. The idea of the mark forces us to confront how easy it is to stray from our values, to let worldly pressures influence us in ways we might not even notice. Revelation is calling us to stay awake, to be vigilant about the influences that guide us. It reminds us that faith isn't a one-time decision, but an ongoing journey of choices that can either draw us closer to God or distance us from Him. The mark of the beast, then, isn't just a cryptic symbol to fear or avoid. It's a call to examine our lives deeply, to see where we might be unknowingly marked by values that don't align with our faith. It challenges us to take a stand, not in some distant future moment, but in the here and now, to reject the allure of worldly power and pride in favor of a life marked by love, humility, and dedication to higher principles. The mark is about a choice of identity. It asks us to decide where we stand and what we're willing to stand for, even when it means resisting the easy, popular, or profitable path. Revelation's warning about the mark isn't meant to terrify, but to guide us, to remind us that every choice we make brings us either closer to or further from our true purpose. And when we understand the mark in this way, it becomes not a symbol of fear, but of profound clarity, a reminder of the path we are called to follow and the values we are called to embody in every moment of our lives. The figure of Babylon the Great in the book of Revelation stands as one of the most potent symbols of corruption, decadence, and ultimately, downfall. When John describes Babylon, he isn't merely referring to a physical city, he's painting a picture of a force, a system, or perhaps even a mindset that lures people away from spiritual truth and entices them with worldly allure. Babylon is depicted as a seductive, powerful entity, clothed in luxury and wealth, holding a golden cup filled with abominations, and sitting on many waters, which symbolize its influence over many nations. But what does this all mean? And why does this imagery resonate so powerfully even today? Babylon's allure lies in its ability to captivate and enchant, to present a version of life that promises satisfaction, status, and pleasure without the need for spiritual discipline or sacrifice. It's portrayed as a city of immense wealth and beauty, appealing to every human desire for comfort, pleasure, and recognition. This is no ordinary temptation. It's a pull toward a life where the pursuit of material success and personal gratification overshadows deeper spiritual values. Babylon's richness and splendor aren't just physical. They represent an entire worldview that says, you deserve everything you want, here and now. It's a mindset that focuses on the immediate, on indulgence, on accumulating possessions and achievements without thought for others or for lasting meaning. This is the genius and danger of Babylon. It doesn't force people into submission, it entices them willingly. Babylon's seduction works by tapping into desires and making them feel like needs. In John's vision, Babylon appears almost as an idol, a false god that promises fulfillment but ultimately leads to emptiness and destruction. It's a reminder that worldly wealth and power can create an illusion of security and satisfaction, blinding people to their deeper spiritual needs. The image of the golden cup filled with abominations symbolizes this toxic allure, something that appears beautiful and valuable on the outside, but contains poison within. In this sense, Babylon isn't limited to a single place or time. It's a force that has appeared in countless forms throughout history and continues to be present today. Babylon represents the seductive side of human nature, the part that craves recognition, comfort, and control, often at the expense of integrity, compassion, and humility. It's the part of society that prizes luxury over love, power over peace, and indulgence over introspection. And because it appeals to basic human desires, Babylon is incredibly hard to resist. It doesn't demand a rejection of faith outright. It subtly encourages people to compromise, to prioritize the visible and tangible over the invisible and eternal. The imagery of Babylon is also rich with irony. This great city, so powerful and seemingly invincible, is described as being destined for a sudden and dramatic downfall. In Revelation, we're shown that Babylon's strength is ultimately its weakness. It builds itself up through excess and arrogance, and in doing so, sows the seeds of its own destruction. This message is a powerful reminder that the pursuit of materialism, self-interest, and power, no matter how rewarding in the short term, is ultimately self-destructive. The very things that make Babylon appear strong and desirable, its wealth, its influence, its self-sufficiency, are what will lead to its ruin. It's a warning about the fragility of any structure, community, or even personal identity built solely on superficial values. Revelation uses the imagery of Babylon's fall as a moment of reckoning, almost as a wake-up call. When Babylon is destroyed, those who profited from it, merchants, kings, and shipmasters, stand at a distance, mourning the loss of their wealth and comfort. Their grief isn't for Babylon itself, but for the lifestyle and luxuries it provided. This scene is haunting because it reflects the human tendency to mourn, not the loss of moral values, but the loss of personal benefit. It's a sharp reminder of how easily we can become so invested in materialism that we grieve not for the corruption it causes, but for the comforts it brings. In mourning Babylon, these figures reveal their allegiance to the values Babylon represented: wealth, power, and excess over truth, humility, and compassion. This vision challenges us to reflect on where we see Babylon today. It calls us to consider how Babylonian values might influence our lives in ways we don't even realize. Are we, in subtle ways, seduced by promises of success, comfort, and recognition? Do we sometimes compromise our values to fit into systems that reward appearance over authenticity, wealth over wisdom? Revelation's portrayal of Babylon reminds us that true spiritual strength isn't about following the path of least resistance. It's about choosing the path that aligns with lasting, eternal principles, even when the world offers tempting shortcuts. At its core, Babylon's story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked desire and the consequences of placing trust in things that ultimately fade. In a world that often equates success with wealth and happiness with possession, Babylon serves as a symbol of everything that is enticing, yet transient, beautiful, yet hollow. It's a warning against the false security that worldly power and luxury can provide. Babylon may promise satisfaction, but it's a satisfaction that never truly satisfies. a fulfillment that leaves a deeper emptiness. Babylon's story doesn't just challenge us individually, it challenges society as a whole. It calls out systems of power that exploit and oppress, that build wealth on the backs of the vulnerable, that value appearance over integrity. Revelation's depiction of Babylon as a seductive, oppressive force speaks to a universal truth about human societies. When power and wealth become the ultimate goals, the result is corruption, injustice, and ultimately collapse. Babylon is a reflection of a society that has lost its way, one that has replaced compassion with competition, humility with pride, and love with self-interest. But Revelation also offers hope within this cautionary tale. Babylon's fall is not the end. It's part of a transformation, a renewal that makes way for something better. The destruction of Babylon paves the way for a new vision, one where peace, justice, and compassion are restored. This final collapse of Babylon serves as a powerful reminder that while corruption and excess may flourish for a time, they cannot last forever. The allure of Babylon, with all its glamour and seduction, is ultimately fleeting, a temporary facade that will one day be replaced by something more enduring and beautiful. Babylon the Great isn't just a symbol of external temptation, it's a mirror reflecting the temptations that lie within each of us. It's a reminder that we are all susceptible to the allure of comfort, recognition, and power, and that these desires left unchecked can lead us away from our highest values. Revelation's vision of Babylon calls us to examine our own lives, to recognize where we might be investing in things that are temporary, and to recommit ourselves to values that are truly lasting. Babylon's seductive pull and ultimate downfall serve as a reminder that the truest security and satisfaction aren't found in wealth or status, but in a life rooted in principles that endure beyond any earthly empire. Revelation doesn't just depict the fall of a city, it challenges us to consider what kind of foundation we're building our lives upon and whether we, too, might be called to let go of our own Babylons, to embrace a path of greater meaning, purpose, and spiritual depth. The book of Revelation, with its intense imagery and profound symbolism, isn't just a tale of cosmic battles or warnings about the end times. At its heart, it is a book about hope and transformation. Amid the vivid portrayals of beasts, plagues, and apocalyptic events, Revelation presents an unwavering message of redemption, a promise that no matter how dark the journey, there is a brighter, restored world waiting at the end. This message often gets overshadowed by the more dramatic elements, but if we look closely, we can see that hope and renewal are woven into the very fabric of Revelation. Imagine reading Revelation as a person struggling with fears about the future, uncertainties in life, or even doubts about faith. At first, the text might feel overwhelming, filled with imagery of judgment and destruction. But as you move through its pages, a remarkable transformation takes place. The trials and tribulations depicted aren't merely warnings, they're part of a larger narrative where evil and suffering are ultimately defeated. Every chapter brings us closer to a profound promise that beyond the chaos, there is a world that's untouched by pain, suffering, or death. Revelation doesn't leave us in fear. It leads us through it and out the other side, into a place of unimaginable peace and joy. One of the most striking symbols of this hope is the vision of the New Jerusalem, a city of light, beauty, and eternal peace. Described with radiant detail, this city isn't just a destination. It's a symbol of ultimate reconciliation between God and humanity. This vision represents a place where everything broken is restored, where every tear is wiped away, and where all things are made new. In this vision, there's no need for a sun because God's presence provides all the light that is needed. Imagine that, a world without darkness, not only in a literal sense, but in every sense. No more hidden pain, no more fear, no more shadows in our hearts or minds. This city is a culmination of everything Revelation has been building toward, a final answer to the suffering and challenges described throughout the book. Revelation's message of transformation isn't only about the end of times, it's also about the present journey of faith. Every warning, every symbol, and every vision pushes us to reflect on our lives and our world. It encourages us to see that while trials and difficulties are inevitable, they're not meaningless. They're part of a process that ultimately leads to growth, refinement, and a deeper connection with the divine. Like a metal purified in fire, faith is tested and strengthened through adversity. Revelation shows us that even when the world seems dark and chaotic, there's a purpose at work, a process leading toward ultimate renewal. This promise of transformation also speaks to a universal longing within all of us, the desire for a world where justice, love, and peace prevail. Revelation acknowledges the brokenness of our world, but insists that this brokenness is not the end of the story. By promising a future where evil is defeated and goodness reigns, it offers us a reason to hold on, to believe that our efforts to live justly, love fully, and walk humbly are part of a much larger story. The battles described in Revelation remind us that our struggles too are part of this cosmic struggle between light and darkness, and that every act of kindness, every moment of integrity, every choice to stand for what's right contributes to the eventual victory of good over evil. The transformative message of Revelation also calls us to examine our own lives. The new world depicted in the text is not just a far-off reality, it's something we are invited to begin embodying here and now. Revelation shows us what a restored world looks like, a place where love, compassion, and justice are the norm, and challenges us to live out those values today, even in the midst of challenges. It urges us to become agents of transformation, people who, in our own small ways, help to usher in this vision of hope. In this way, Revelation is not just a prophecy, it's a call to action, a reminder that the journey toward a better world begins with each of us. The hope presented in Revelation is not a naive optimism that ignores hardship. Rather, it's a resilient hope that acknowledges suffering but refuses to be defeated by it. It's the kind of hope that sees beyond present circumstances, that believes in light even when surrounded by darkness. This is a powerful message for anyone going through personal struggles or witnessing the brokenness of the world. Revelation assures us that no matter how overwhelming the challenges may seem, there is a promise of peace and restoration on the horizon. At the end of Revelation, we're given one final, beautiful image that encapsulates this hope and transformation: the tree of life, standing by the river that flows through the New Jerusalem. This tree, whose leaves are described as for the healing of the nations, symbolizes a world where all divisions, wounds, and conflicts are reconciled. The tree of life is a reminder of Eden, of the paradise that humanity lost, but now restored and made accessible to all. It's as if Revelation is telling us that everything we've been through, the struggles, the trials, the battles, has been leading us back to this place, a place of perfect harmony and wholeness. This image of the tree of life is not just a promise for the future, it's a vision that gives meaning to our journey, an assurance that every step we take toward compassion, justice, and truth is leading us closer to this reality. Through this vision, Revelation shows us that hope isn't passive, it's active. It's something we choose, something we participate in. When we choose to live with love, to act with integrity, to stand up for what is right, we are aligning ourselves with this future reality, making the hope of Revelation a tangible part of our lives today. This perspective transforms how we view both our lives and our world. Instead of seeing challenges as meaningless, we begin to see them as opportunities for growth, as part of the larger story of redemption. In this way, Revelation invites us to hold on to hope with courage, to let the vision of the New Jerusalem inspire us to live lives that reflect that promised world. It challenges us to remain faithful even in difficult times, trusting that every small act of goodness contributes to a larger picture that one day will be complete. And when we face moments of darkness or doubt, Revelation encourages us to look forward, to remember the tree of life, the New Jerusalem, and the promise that, no matter what happens, goodness, light, and love will ultimately prevail. This message of transformation isn't about denying the difficulties of life. It's about finding strength in the knowledge that, at the end of all things, there is healing, restoration, and a peace that surpasses all understanding. In this light, Revelation becomes a book of profound comfort and encouragement. It's a reminder that our lives, no matter how ordinary or challenging, are part of a greater story. Every struggle, every triumph, every act of kindness is woven into this narrative of redemption. By embracing this perspective, we allow Revelation's message of hope and transformation to become a guiding force in our lives, leading us not only to a vision of a better world, but to the possibility of becoming people who help bring that vision to life. The final battle in the book of Revelation is often perceived as a climactic showdown between the forces of good and evil, a cosmic struggle with vivid imagery of angels, beasts, and divine warriors. But when we look deeper, this battle isn't just an end-of-the-world event. It's a symbol of an ongoing, internal conflict, one that reflects the daily struggles we all face between choosing light over darkness, love over hate, and integrity over compromise. This final battle isn't just something that happens in some distant future. In a profound sense, it's happening within each of us, here and now, as we navigate the complexities of faith, morality, and identity. In Revelation, this ultimate struggle is depicted in intense, almost surreal terms. Armies clash, a great dragon is defeated, and a final judgment is rendered. This imagery serves to emphasize the gravity of the conflict, a battle that is about far more than physical conquest. It's about the triumph of divine truth over deception, of righteousness over corruption, and of love over fear. The power of this imagery isn't just in its grandeur, but in the way it illustrates the stakes of our personal and spiritual journeys. Each one of us, in our own way, participates in this battle, whether we realize it or not, as we confront moments of moral choice and spiritual challenge. Imagine this battle as a mirror for the conflicts we face every day, the struggle to stay true to our values in a world that often rewards compromise, the challenge of choosing compassion over self-interest, or the courage it takes to forgive when anger feels easier. These moments of choice are the small but significant battlegrounds where we either align ourselves with the principles of love, truth, and humility, or allow ourselves to be swayed by pride, greed, and fear. Revelation's final battle is a magnified cosmic expression of these very real, very human struggles, showing us that our choices are not isolated or insignificant. They are part of a much larger spiritual story. The forces at play in Revelation's final battle can also be seen as representations of the values and influences that compete for our allegiance. The forces of good represent love, truth, justice, and humility, while the forces of evil embody deception, oppression, and self-centered ambition. This symbolic battle reminds us that every decision we make is, in some way, a choice between these forces, a step toward or away from the principles that lead to spiritual wholeness and true peace. Revelation uses the scale of this battle to underscore that our choices are not trivial. They shape the very fabric of our lives and influence the direction of our souls. In a way, Revelation's final battle is an invitation to examine where our own loyalties lie. It challenges us to reflect on the values we prioritize and the influences we allow to shape our thoughts and actions. Are we aligning ourselves with principles of love, humility, and integrity, or are we letting ourselves be influenced by forces of division, anger, and self-centeredness? This reflection isn't just about labeling ourselves as good or bad. It's about recognizing that we are constantly growing, constantly evolving, and that every day offers us new opportunities to draw closer to what is good, true and lasting. The final battle also serves as a powerful reminder that, while we may feel small and powerless in the face of the world's challenges, we are not alone. Revelation shows that we are part of a much larger struggle, one in which divine support and strength are always present. This message is one of hope, encouraging us to lean on faith and resilience, to find strength in knowing that we don't have to face life's battles on our own. Revelation portrays a God who is not distant or indifferent, but deeply invested in the outcome of this struggle. A God who stands with those who choose love, justice, and compassion, and who empowers us to overcome the forces that threaten to pull us away from our true purpose. The victory depicted in Revelation's final battle is not just about vanquishing external enemies. It's about a transformation of the heart, a renewal of the spirit. This victory suggests that the true enemy isn't always something outside of us, but often the inner barriers we face, the fear, pride, and resentment that can cloud our ability to live fully in alignment with love and truth. Revelation shows us that overcoming these inner obstacles is the real triumph, that the ultimate victory is one of self-mastery, of conquering the parts of ourselves that resist change, growth, and spiritual depth. In this sense, the final battle is also about redemption. It's a battle to reclaim the parts of ourselves that may have been lost or compromised over time. As we engage in this internal struggle, we're invited to rediscover the purity of our intentions, the strength of our compassion, and the clarity of our purpose. Revelation presents this journey as one of purification, where every challenge and hardship becomes a means of refining our character and deepening our faith. The final battle isn't just a test. It's a process of renewal, a journey back to the essence of who we are called to be. This ultimate victory is portrayed as a promise that, in the end, love and goodness will prevail, not just in the world, but within us. Revelation's final battle assures us that no matter how fierce the struggles we face, the power of good is stronger than the forces of darkness. It's a message of hope that even when we feel lost or overwhelmed, there is always a path back to light, a path that leads to healing, wholeness, and peace. This promise of victory isn't about external conquest. It's about the victory of the spirit, the peace that comes from knowing that we are on a journey towards something beautiful and true. At its core, Revelation's final battle challenges us to become the kind of people who can face life's greatest trials with courage, integrity, and unwavering hope. It calls us to be warriors of the Spirit, not in the sense of fighting others, but in the sense of standing strong in our faith, remaining committed to our values, and refusing to let the difficulties of life erode our sense of purpose. It asks us to be resilient, to hold on to hope even when things seem dark, and to believe that our small acts of kindness, truth, and love are part of a larger victory. This vision of the final battle isn't a story of despair or destruction, but one of renewal and promise. It's a reminder that every choice we make, every act of kindness, every moment of forgiveness is part of a cosmic story that leads, ultimately, to a world of peace and light. Revelation's final battle encourages us to see ourselves as active participants in this story, to recognize that we have a role to play in bringing about the victory of good over evil, light over darkness. Through this lens, Revelation's final battle becomes a deeply personal message. It's not just about an epic end-time struggle. It's about the daily battles we face within ourselves, the choices we make to uphold what is right and true, even when it's difficult. It's about the courage to confront our own inner darkness, to heal our own wounds, and to become people who embody the values of compassion, justice, and love. In this way, Revelation's final battle is not only a vision of a future victory, but a call to live each day with the strength, hope, and conviction that bring that vision closer to reality. The final battle in Revelation assures us that, ultimately, good will prevail. It reminds us that every act of love, every moment of integrity, every choice to forgive is a step toward that ultimate triumph. And while the struggle may feel overwhelming at times, Revelation offers us a promise of victory, not as something distant or abstract, but as a deeply personal journey of transformation, a journey that leads to peace, purpose, and the fulfillment of our highest calling. The book of Revelation is often seen as a book of mystery, fear, and even confusion. But when we peel back the layers, we find a powerful message about hope, transformation, and spiritual victory. Each symbol, each warning, and each promise are there to guide us on our journey. Revelation isn't meant to scare us, but to prepare us for a life filled with purpose and faith. Thank you for staying with us to the end. If you enjoyed this deep dive, there's another video on screen that I think you'll love. Click and let's keep exploring the mysteries of the Bible together.